Can childhood heroes become real-life monsters? In the 1990s, millions of kids around the world woke up early on Saturday mornings to watch one show, Power Rangers. Colorful suits, epic battles, heroes who always won. But what if I told you that behind those masks, some of these heroes were fighting battles they could never win? What if the real monsters weren't the ones they fought on screen, but the darkness waiting for them off screen? Today, we're uncovering the curse that haunted the Power Rangers cast. A curse so brutal, it turned heroes into killers, legends into victims, and childhood memories into nightmares. One ranger killed a couple by drowning them alive, tied to an anchor. Another stabbed his roommate to death with a samurai sword. And the biggest star of them all, he couldn't escape his own mind. This isn't just about tragic deaths. This is about a pattern so dark, it makes you wonder, was this just bad luck? Or did the power really come with a price? By the end of this video, you'll question everything you thought you knew about your childhood heroes. And we'll reveal another cursed production where real human skeletons were used on set and the cast started dying one by one. Let's morph into the darkest chapter of Power Rangers history. The psychopath heroes, the monsters behind the mask. Skylar Deleon, the yacht killer. Before we talk about the Rangers who died, let's talk about the one who became a killer. And not just any killer, a monster. Skylar Deleon appeared in a single episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1994. He was just a kid then, playing a small role, but that small taste of fame planted something dark inside him. Fast forward to November 15th, 2004, Newport Beach, California. Tom and Jackie Hawks were a retired couple living their dream. They owned a beautiful yacht called the Well-Deserved. They were selling it to fund their retirement and spend more time with their newborn grandchild. Enter Skylar Deleon. By now, he was 25 years old, broke, and desperate. He contacted the Hawks, pretending to be a wealthy buyer interested in their yacht. They trusted him. Big mistake. On that day, Skylar, along with his wife and two accomplices, boarded the yacht for a test sail. Once they were far enough from shore, the plan unfolded. Tom and Jackie were overpowered. Their hands were tied. Skylar forced them to sign over the yacht's ownership papers. And then came the unthinkable. They tied Tom and Jackie to the yacht's anchor while they were still alive, fully conscious. And then they threw them overboard. Imagine the terror, the cold water, the weight pulling them down, the realization that no one was coming to save them. Tom and Jackie Hawks drowned in the Pacific Ocean, helpless and alone. Skylar Deleon didn't stop there. He went on to kill another man, John Harvey, in Mexico just weeks later. All for money. He was arrested in 2004, convicted, sentenced to death. Today, Skylar Deleon sits on death row in California, one of the most hated inmates in the system. The boy who once wore a Power Rangers costume became one of the most cold-blooded killers in American history. Ricardo Medina Jr., the samurai killer. If Skylar Deleon was calculated evil, Ricardo Medina Jr. was rage unleashed. Ricardo played Cole Evans, the Red Wild Force Ranger from 2002 to 2003. Later, he returned to the franchise as Decker in Power Rangers Samurai. He was known for his intensity on screen. Turns out, that intensity was real. January 31st, 2015, Palmdale, California. Ricardo was living with his roommate, 36-year-old Joshua Sutter. The two had been arguing that day. The argument escalated. Joshua reportedly forced his way into Ricardo's bedroom. That's when Ricardo grabbed a sword. Not a prop, a real functional samurai sword. The kind he used on the show. He stabbed Joshua Sutter once in the abdomen. The blade went deep. Joshua staggered back, bleeding out. Ricardo called 911, but it was too late. Joshua died shortly after. Ricardo Medina Jr. was arrested and charged with murder. He claimed self-defense. In court, He argued that Joshua was the aggressor, that he feared for his life. The jury didn't buy it. In 2017, Ricardo pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Here's the sickest irony. Ricardo Medina played a samurai ranger, a warrior trained in honor, discipline, and control. But when it mattered most, he lost control, and a man died because of it. The Red Ranger, the leader, the hero became a convicted killer. 2 Power Rangers, 2 killers. One drowned a couple alive. The other stabbed his roommate with a samurai sword. Childhood heroes or monsters in disguise? The tragic prophecy, the 27 Club, and the silent cries. Thuy, Trang, the Yellow Ranger. Not all Rangers became killers. Some became victims of fate so cruel it feels like a curse. Thuy Trang played Trini Kwan, the original Yellow Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. She was strong, smart, and a role model for millions of Asian American kids growing up in the 90s. But her life was cut short in the most tragic way. September 3rd, 2001. Interstate 5, California. Thuy was riding in a car with her friends, heading home from a wedding. Angela Rockwood was driving. They were laughing, talking, living life. Then, without warning, the car lost control. It veered off the road, flipped multiple times, and crashed violently. Thuy Trang was thrown from the vehicle. She died instantly. She was only 27 years old. 27. The same age as Lexi Bigham from Boys in the Hood. The same age as Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. The 27 Club. A list of talented artists who all died at the same age. Was Thuy's death just a coincidence? Or was she destined to join that cursed list? What makes it even more haunting is this. Thuy Trang had just started getting her career back on track. She had moved on from Power Rangers and was building a new life. She had everything ahead of her. And then, in one moment, it was all gone. Her co-stars were devastated. David Yost, the Blue Ranger, said, "She was one of the kindest people I ever met. Losing her felt like losing a piece of my childhood. The Yellow Ranger who fought monsters and saved the world couldn't save herself from a cruel twist of fate." Jason David Frank, the fallen legend. If Thuy Trang's death was a tragic accident, Jason David Frank's death was a tragedy of a different kind. A silent battle. A war fought inside his own mind. Jason David Frank was the face of Power Rangers. He played Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the Red Zeo Ranger, the Black Dino Ranger. He was the most iconic Ranger of all time. Fans loved him. Kids wanted to be him. He was a martial artist, a fighter, a symbol of strength. But behind the scenes, Jason was struggling. In 2022, his life was falling apart. His marriage was ending. He was going through a painful divorce. He was dealing with personal demons that no one saw coming. November 19th, 2022. A hotel room in Texas. Jason David Frank took his own life. He was 49 years old. The news shattered the Power Rangers community. Fans couldn't believe it. How could the strongest Ranger, the one who never gave up, give up on himself? His death sparked a larger conversation about mental health, especially among men. Jason looked strong on the outside, but inside, he was breaking. Depression doesn't care if you're a hero. Anxiety doesn't care if you're a legend. Mental illness doesn't care how many people love you. Jason David Frank fought hundreds of battles on screen, but the one battle he couldn't win was the one inside his head. The Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the greatest Power Ranger of all time was gone. The new generation curse, fast-paced. The curse didn't stop with the original cast. It followed the franchise into the new generation. Pua Magasiva Red Ranger from Power Rangers Ninja Storm, found dead in a hotel room in Wellington, New Zealand on May 11th, 2019. He was only 38 years old. Cause of death? Suspected suicide. Another Ranger lost to mental health struggles. Robert Axelrod, the voice of Lord Zed in Finster, died on September 7th, 2019 after a long battle with illness. He was 70. One of the most iconic voices in Power Rangers history, gone. Machiko Soga, the original Rita Repulsa in the Japanese Super Sentai series, died of pancreatic cancer on May 7th, 2006. She was 68. The witch who terrorized Angel Grove was defeated by a battle she couldn't fight. The deaths kept coming. Different Rangers, different eras, same tragic pattern, car accidents, suicide, illness, murder. It's like the power came with a curse. And once you put on that helmet, you were marked. The conclusion of evil, the theory. Let's recap. Skylar Deleon drowned a couple alive, tied to an anchor. Ricardo Medina Jr. stabbed his roommate to death with a samurai sword. Thuy died in a car crash at 27. Jason David Frank took his own life at 49. Pua Magasiva, dead at 38. And countless others lost to illness, accidents, and tragedy. 7 deaths. 2 killers. 1 franchise. So the question is this just coincidence? Or is there something darker at play? Some fans believe the Power Rangers franchise is cursed, that the intense pressure, the fame at a young age, the typecasting, all contributed to these tragedies. Others point to the mental health struggles that plagued so many of these actors. The isolation, the depression, the feeling of being trapped in a role they could never escape. And then there's the eerie pattern. The 27 Club, the samurai sword, the yacht anchor, the hotel room. It's almost like life was imitating art, or art was predicting death. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear. Being a Power Ranger came with a price. And for some, that price was their life. The Poltergeist outro, the retention loop. If you think the Power Rangers curse is dark, wait until you hear about Poltergeist. A movie where real human skeletons were used on set. A production so haunted, its cast started dying one by one in the most horrifying ways. The little girl from Poltergeist, Heather O'Rourke, died suddenly at just 12 years old. Dominique Dunn, the older sister, was strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend. Julian Beck died of stomach cancer during filming. Will Sampson passed away shortly after. And the tragedies didn't stop there. Was it a curse? Or something even more sinister? Next video, every Poltergeist actor who became a victim of the curse. Subscribe now, because what happened to the Poltergeist cast will haunt you far worse than any ghost ever could. The Power Rangers tried to save the world, but they couldn't save themselves.